Hey, everybody, welcome to the I Dare You podcast. I am so glad you're here, and you're going to be glad you're here as well, because our guest is Thomas Erikson, consultant, author, speaker, does a lot of great work in this world, and let's meet him right now. Thomas, welcome to the podcast. It is really great having you here.
Thank you for the invitation.
So, Thomas, where did this passion for studying human behavior, where did this all begin for you?
There are a number of stories, but the most important one for me is probably when I got my first managing position at the age of 24. I thought I was going to be a really cool boss. I think boss was the word back then. I was a young sales guy, really. I imagined, well, selling stuff and leading 13 ladies. What could possibly go wrong there?
No, no,
So
sounds easy.
it took me. Sounds easy. Took me a couple of weeks to realize I don't know what I'm doing. No, I'm seriously, I messed it up pretty badly, really. I really messed it up. And I realized that after a while, I went to my manager's manager, two levels up. I said, you have to take me out from this equation because obviously I don't know what I'm doing. And he said, you better stay
Mm.
put, Sonny, because your boss is even worse than you. He's not even here. So I actually it took me a year to get rid of that position. Sounds strange, but I was a terrible leader. Terrible. But I wasn't a leader. I wasn't a leader at all. When you sit around the coffee table when you're leaving your position and they hand you a present and they say good luck on your next future step in your career. They didn't give me anything. I gave them a
Mm.
plant and basically said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So you walked away, huh?
I walked away, and then the HR department called me up and said, "Would you fancy a personality test, do you?" And I said, "Sure, why not? I'm a willing learner." So they handed it to me, and I read the report, and it was a horrible read. I said, "Is this what people see when they meet me?" "Oh yes. Would you like to talk about it?" The HR lady said. I said, "I better do that because this is horrifying. This is really really bad." Because I could never shut up, and I made jokes in the absolute wrong places. And I really didn't understand. I didn't understand the dynamics being a manager and having people reporting to me because I thought I was one in the gang, so to speak, one of them, but I wasn't. And it was really, really confusing. But that's the starting point at the age of, well, now I'm 25, I would say. So I've been studying myself ever since. Still
Unreal.
learn stuff about me. So, yeah.
Okay, so you had that moment in your mid 20s. So at what point did you really embrace the feedback and start making changes in your own leadership style? Was it immediate or was it gradual?
I would like to say something super smart here, saying I immediately implemented everything they told me, which I, of course, didn't, because when you're 25, you're super smart, right?
Right,
You've
of
been
course.
25 as well. I mean,
I
we
was
are,
brilliant.
Darren, you and I, we are experienced now, but we were smart back then. We knew
Oh my gosh.
everything about everything. And I was working in a bank, actually, sitting next to a guy my age, and thinking, why don't the top management do it differently? Why can't they see it? It's so obvious. Now we are kind of gray-haired and everything, and we keep calling each other and say, "What were we thinking? How did we actually put these things together? We didn't know anything about anything." I think it's because you're so smart when you're young, and I got some feedback. I listened to some of it, mostly because I had to, but basically I was and here it comes. I was surrounded by idiots. My definition of an idiot when I was young is if you agree with me, you're a good person. If you disagree, you're obviously an idiot. As I said, it was easier before. But I learned slowly but surely. It took me, I don't think I'm not a natural talent in anything, I think. I think I was close to 40 before I realized how things were supposed to be dealt with when it came to human beings and building my own career and working on me. Struggled quite a lot and made a mess out of a lot of things and annoyed a lot of people. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Well, you and I have similar paths. I mean, this is your interview. I'll just tell you a really quick story. So I was in the pharmaceutical industry for a number of years, and I was a middle manager in Chicago and had 17 sales reps. And I was really proud of the fact that I was in my late 20s and I was a young district manager and I thought I knew it all. Oh my gosh, I was a horrible, looking back on, I was a horrible manager. I had all the answers, and all the tenured sales reps, they were so gracious. They politely said, you know what, let me just take you under my wing. But I really had all these blind spots, and it took an intervention with HR to have an
There you go.
have an executive coach walk me through, and I realized I had all these blind spots, and I thought, oh my gosh, is this? And it was really painful. Truly, it was painful for me to confront that. And I'm sure you hear that all the time, do you not? It's truly is painful.
It is painful I mean, feedback can hurt. Of course, negative feedback is never fun to hear. Sometimes you say things, yeah, well, I am so happy that you let me know what you think about me and my stupidity. But of course it hurts. But true feedback, honest feedback that actually is spot on, that's the worst kind because I know they're correct in their let's say assessment of me. If you call me this and that, and I know you're right because I know who I am and I know my flaws and all of those things. But still, I haven't fixed them. I mean, could it be more painful than that? You talk too much, and I say, I know. So why don't you stop? I don't know because this is who I am and whatever. But it's really hard, and I think my problem was no one took me under his or her wing. People just said, you just do whatever you find best to do, and I tried a lot of stuff, and there wasn't a bad intention. I just didn't know how to deal with anyone really, and I didn't understand how people looked at me when I presented myself to the room. I didn't know. No one told me. I can always blame them, they, whoever they were. But really, these days, I know, and you know that too, we have to take responsibility for our own mishaps. And I didn't. It took me a while. I honestly believe I was in my early 40s before I really had wrapped my head around the whole process of reaching out to people and making them listen and listen to them. And, all these cliches that we use today, you should listen more than you speak, all of that, no one told me. And there were no, well, when I was in my 40s, there was an internet, but when I was really young, there wasn't, and I didn't have money to read books, and no one sent me to class anywhere. So let's blame those people, shan't we? Let's do that.
Right. No, I understand
Those were
completely.
the real idiots. They didn't see it. I had to
Exactly.
investigate myself. That was hard work.
Well, when I first picked up your book, Surrounded by Idiots, which relations on your series, we'll talk about that. But at first
Thank
I
you.
thought, yeah, I'm going to read about it. You're right, I am surrounded by idiots. And I soon realized you're talking about me. And of course everyone, but I thought, man, this is bold, and I really loved your series. So you, just for everyone that has not learned about Thomas's great work so far, but he has a series of Surrounded by books. So here we go: Surrounded by Narcissists, Psychopaths, Bad Bosses, Energy Vampires, Setbacks, Surrounded by Idiots, and now his most recent book, Surrounded by Liars. So, Thomas, congratulations on this series. You've helped millions of people all around the world. Why was this the next book that needed to be written, Surrounded by Liars? Why this one?
First, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate that. Well, I have a long list of possible future projects to work on. I usually work on 5 or maybe 6 different projects at the same time, and I sort of try to work myself into them a little bit. And the liars thing about the deception and lies and the truth and honesty really was complicated because we all lie, right? We all lie. I lie, you lie, everybody lies. Hopefully for the better purpose, because white lies and we don't want to hurt people's feelings and all of that. And sometimes we lie although we shouldn't. And it was hard to close in on this topic because I had to look into myself a little bit. And but then my American publisher at St. Martin's Press, they said this concept about because they saw the list, this concept about liars, we're really curious about it. Why don't you just dig into it and see what comes out? So I did, and I got fascinated when I really took it seriously, I would say. So they helped me in deciding and make up my mind. So I started writing about it. Then it's between two people, could you tell if your partner is lying and look at the eye movement and body language? Yeah, sure, fine. But it's not really unique, that kind of take, right? So I wanted to do something bigger and talk about lies in society in general, not only between me and my partner, or you and your partner, but also between the population, the public, and the politicians, influencers, media, TV, celebrities, Hollywood, all of those people, because we are fed with lies 24/7. This is one of the reasons I don't watch the news anymore. Yes, I'm 100% serious when I say that. I don't watch the
Are
news
you?
because who could digest all of those things that comes out? Because people are lying through the teeth on the screen, and it's really bothering me. I think the only way in the future, the only way today to define what is true is what you can see with your own eyes, what you can hear with
Mm.
your own ears. Because if you add AI on top of everything, and you see in the videos online about,
Yes.
you've had a major election in the States, and I
Yes, we
don't
did.
envy you what you have in front of you or what you have just left, but I wish you all the best on your journey, let's say. But
Thank you,
we've
sir.
seen the
We need the
videos.
help.
Yeah, we have seen, the fake videos of both the candidates, and it's really, really, it doesn't help.
Yeah. It's amazing.
If I honestly believe if you can see an event live, then you can trust your own eyes at least.
Yeah.
So I don't think
Yeah.
this is going in the right direction. So that's basically the reason why I entered the topic of lies and the truth and honesty and dishonesty and all of that. Fascinating, fascinating indeed.
No, it's an important topic. It's the right message at the right time. By the way, the name of the book is Surrounded by Liars. The subtitle is How to Stop Half Truths, Deception, and Gaslighting from Ruining Your Life. So let me back up here. Gaslighting from ruining your life. If you don't mind, define for me gaslighting. What do you mean by that? Because I think we all have examples in our lives, but how do you determine that? How do you know if you're being gaslit? Let's put it that way.
The last question is easy to answer. You don't know. That's kind of how it works. Because gaslighting is a manipulation technique that liars, narcissists, psychopaths use. Gaslighting, the easiest way to describe it is to convince you with a certain kind of argumentation that a lie is actually the truth. I mean, if you say, I was with Mark last night, and she says, well, you weren't because I called Mark, you weren't there. No, no. I said Marcus. Who's that? Well, you don't have his number. And then you actually tried to convince me that you said Marcus. You didn't say Mark, you said Marcus. Big difference. Completely a different guy. Maybe it was Mary or Marsha. I don't know. But when you actually succeeds in convincing me I actually misheard you. He didn't. He probably did say Marcus. He's right. That's gaslighting 100%. And there's many ways you can do it. You can just be so convincing, like a politician. No, no, I had the best economy. No, no, I had the best economy. They both say the same thing, right? Let's not go into that. But of course, they're both lying. Probably somebody else had the best economy way back in time. I don't know. But the trick is if you look believable, if you look trustworthy, you can get away with basically anything. And people
Hmm.
do. We know that. And the higher up in the hierarchy you are, the worse it gets. So,
It's true. It's true. In your book, there's a quote here that I have. I mean, and the book is filled with wonderful stories of individuals, but also events and how we got there, Gulf of Tonkin, and so I really enjoyed President Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. I mean, I really enjoyed how you gave specific examples of all this. But there's a quote here in your book in the introduction. Welcome to this refreshing journey into lies and deception. And I think that really frames it up really well. It truly is that journey. There's a part in your book that you talk about the. By the way, my ancestors are from Norway. I know you're from Sweden. I hope that doesn't ruin our interview here. But
absolutely not. We love Norway.
okay.
They
But
don't love
there
us,
is
but we
a.
love them.
Is that how it works? Yeah. By the way, just
Basically.
an aside. When I was growing up in rural Minnesota, a lot of Swedes and Norwegians. There was a Swedish Lutheran church and then a Norwegian church in the same town. I think we had 400 people in the town, but by gosh, we could not worship together. So I have that as my my backdrop. But it's
Swedes
called the law.
well, Swedes in the States, I don't know, but Swedes in general are very secular. Actually,
Oh, are they?
it's a very extremely secular society. Extremely, we really stand out on the map. We and I think
Interesting.
it's
I didn't know that.
Slovakia, worst on the planet.
I
No
didn't know
one
that.
believes in anything really. I'm not saying it's a
Hmm.
good thing. I'm saying Sweden
Yeah.
is standing out. Norway is a little bit more churchy, if that's a word.
Hmm.
Nowadays.
Well, that is a word. That would describe me, I think. So good. There's a the law of, is it pronounced Jantelagen?
Jantelagen, yeah, the law of Jante, correct.
Okay, the law of
Which is a
Janta.
name.
So that really jumped off the page at me. Tell me a little bit more about the law of Janta, how that fits into this whole notion of lies and deception.
Well, okay, that's a bit tricky. Well, Jantelagen, the law of Jante, let's say, Jante is a name, obviously. It's actually written by half Danish, half Norwegian guy, so it's actually not Swedish, but it works best in Sweden. What the law of Jante really says is don't think that you are somebody. And if you actually are somebody, don't tell anyone, because who are you to put yourself on a pedestal? So you should sort of push yourself down. You should never show off. You should never. It's very non-American. It's extremely Swedish, though. Don't think that you are better than we are. Don't believe that you can do something that we cannot do. And if you happens to be better than anyone else, just shut up and go away. We don't want to talk to you, because you have to just push it down. So therefore, you in Sweden, we have an interesting thing that we actually lie about. That is to achieve success, which is a sort of a uh, where the Jantelagen comes in as an interesting basis. Because I mean, what I love with the United States of America is that you love successful people. You really love the little guy fighting the establishment and winning, and really, really, really pushing it. And that's what is so beautiful with your society. It really is. I'm not saying this to flatter you, but I can compare this to Sweden, where it's the exact opposite. If you are super successful, as in being well known for anything, a great athlete, or an entrepreneur, if you're a billionaire or whatever, we have lots of successful people. Per capita, we have a lot of really, really good people here. But we can't talk about it because it's not looked at as upon as a little bit rude. I know how strange it must sound for an American, but it goes like this. If I'm driving a Bentley and you say, "Hey, where did you get the Bentley?" Nah, I got it really cheap. It's an old one. It's rusty. It doesn't work really well. It goes on 4 cylinders. All this old. No, forget about the Bentley. Yeah, but look at it. Who have you robbed, to get that Bentley? It's not that, oh, you're building a business. Great. Good on you.
Hmm.
I support you. Work hard and you can make it. No, no. I was lucky. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And that is a consequence of the law of Jante. Don't think that. So we are lying to ourselves. We are lying to each other. And every successful Swede, with one exception, that would be a soccer player called Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who was playing in Los Angeles. Maybe you haven't heard about him, but if you Google him,
No, I'm not.
he's the only Swede that can says I'm the greatest. He could go this Muhammad Ali kind of thing, but no one else. We have to sort of play it down and do it in the shadows, lurking around and not pretending to have anything any time, because people will be frustrated if they see your success. It sounds really silly, and it is silly. It's stupid
Yeah.
as you know.
It's interesting. I mean, so we are all lying to ourselves at some point, and we all lie. Let's go a little bit deeper into this. Then you've done a lot of great work with the disc profile and what I would call the color code. But where do the colors fit into this and helping us understand if we're lying, the impact of it? Tell us more about that.
Well, the color code is, of course, it's the old disc profile, and we added the colors, reds, yellows, greens, and blues on top of it for a pedagogical reason. It's easier to remember red and yellow behavior instead of a high D over an I with a low C, or if you go by MBTI, an ENTJ personality. Or is it INTJ, or is it ITPK, or
You read
which
my
one is it?
mind.
Well, exactly. I have that too, but I can't remember my letters. So red and yellow. There you go. So, and I use this just to describe basic behavioral patterns, which you then, of course, can mix in numerous ways. And when it comes to lying, well, as I started this conversation, we all lie. Everybody lies. But different people lie for different reasons, and they lie not all the time, and they lie about different things. Like men lie more about their career and their success. Women lie more about their relationships. Oh, we're good friends, she says. And a guy
Hmm.
says, I know him. He's the greatest. It could both be lies. But when it comes to the behavior patterns, Red people, who are the dominant ones, they lie to sort of build their own value, let's say. They pretend to be a bit more, they have strong egos. Yellow people, who are very social and influential, they lie to build their brand, to look like someone who actually made it. They are not seen well in Sweden, as we all understand by now. And
Right,
back to
right.
that. Green people strive for stability. They lie to avoid conflicts, meaning, are you coming along? Oh, yes, absolutely. I would love to go to China next week. It's going to scare the hell out of me, but of course I will come. Flying on an airplane, gee, that's really, do we have time to help me? Oh, I have all the time in the world. Good Lord, where should I fit into this into my calendar? And so on. And blue people, who are the engineers and the accountants, the analytical ones, the conscientious ones, they are probably the ones that I would trust the most, because they are very honest, because they strive for quality, and quality does not include lying. There's a saying that we use here. I trained a lot of sales reps in my days, and the worst sales people are the engineers, because they have to say as it is all the time. They will point out, oh, it's a leak over there, and it doesn't run really well over there, and over 55, it's going to be really shaky. The wheel going to come off, because they have to tell people the truth. So I would actually trust them the most. They will lie about things that can ruin their reputation related to quality matters, if you know. Oh, he made
Yes,
a
I do know.
mistake. Ooh, that's a bad thing. I made a mistake. He didn't know about this. He didn't read the book. Okay, fine, but he made a mistake. Ooh, that's
Hmm.
bad. So there they might cover their tracks a little bit, let's say. So it's just one part to different kind of look at the topic from different angles, let's say.
It's good. So the color, for those who have not done the color code or the disc profile, many people have, but it's extremely useful. And I'm talking as a layman here. I don't teach it or train it, but it really is enlightening about number one, understanding yourself. And I love that, about how understand yourself before leading others, and it gives you a whole different perspective. And there's that theme here, isn't there, Thomas, that when you are more self-aware, that feels like this beautiful gate that just opens up to help you lead more effectively. Agree? Disagree?
Agreed. Absolutely. I mean, the best skill you can build anywhere is to understand human behavior. It doesn't really matter if you're going to go into sales, if you're going to go into marketing, if you're going in some service industry, healthcare, big pharma, leadership, managing positions, negotiations, therapy, whatever. You need to understand human behavior, because still, knock on wood, AI is not making the decisions. The humans are making the decisions, which I think is good. Let's stay there, hopefully. And so
Hmm.
if you learn human behavior, if you understand how people are wired, you can achieve basically anything, because you will never make it on your own. There's a saying, I'm a self-made man. No, you're not. No one is self-made. And besides, only successful people make that claim. I'm a self-made man. Well, if you are self-made, we're all self-made. So sort of scrap the whole idea. You did it by getting help from a lot of people, coaching and
Yeah.
partnerships and whatever. So these things are all about communication. It sounds like a cliche, but if you can't communicate properly, if your people skills are really low,
But Thomas, when is it, and is it okay to lie? There's got to be some relationships. Do you share everything? Are you 100% honest? When is it okay to lie? I'm looking for a little bit of wiggle room if you got any.
that is, of course, the right question, Darian. I would say I have asked hundreds of people this question the last year during writing the book and research and so on. And what most people would agree on is that when you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, then it's okay to tell a white lie. You know, do I look fat in this one? Of course, you're more beautiful than ever. Don't look for, don't just say no, you're lovely, or you don't like it. There we go. But sometimes you have to just protect someone's feelings, and sometimes you need to protect your own feelings. I mean, the most common lie I would say is, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm okay." I think that's the most used lie ever, because
Mm.
usually we're not okay, we're not fine. But I don't have the energy for this conversation today. My kids are yelling and my wife is sick and the car broke down on the highway. Don't ask me how I'm doing. Just go away. I can't have this because I'm fine. Everything is cool. I think when it comes to protecting people from bad experiences that you cannot help to solve at the moment, then it might be okay to wiggle away a little bit into the gray zone. But I also do agree with Socrates and Immanuel Kant, one of the old philosophers, that says the truth might not set you free, but the truth is always the truth. You don't have to remember anything if you always speak the truth. And it's easy to say, but it's hard to do. But I honestly believe in that. And I actually have an interesting story about this. And that is when my wife, Christina, we have known each other for 10 years and we have a great time together. We laugh a lot and we met late in life, let's say. And we laugh a lot and we joke with each other and we talk a lot about communication. We communicate about our communication. So sort of the topic of sort of reaching and pacing each other is more or less on the table, not every day, but very, very often. So we get along pretty well, and we're really fine, really well, actually. Did I say pretty well? I mean really well. Yeah, I said it. Anyways,
I heard it.
I have 2 divorces into my name, which is not something to brag about. But I know a lot what doesn't work, and dishonesty and playing the game doesn't work. Not long time. Long term, it doesn't work if you try to be someone you're not. And my second divorce ended with me actually finally stating the truth, saying I don't believe in this relationship anymore because this is going the wrong direction totally, and I'm obviously a part of it. I'm not blaming anyone. We don't get along, and you know it, I know it, everybody knows it. And what happened when I brought that up, it was painful, it was mad, like you can imagine. It was a brutal separation. She said and did a lot of really nasty stuff, but I turned the other cheek, let's say. But I'm not saying I'm perfect, not at all, absolutely not. But what happened after stating that truth to this lady is I have not been scared once in my life after this. And this is now, let's see here, close to 11 years, I would say. Close
Interesting.
to 11 years. I have not been afraid of anything after saying those first 2 or 3 sentences because they scared me really, really bad. And it feels so deliberating.
Debilitating. I think it. Yep.
It had, it had, it gives me freedom because now I know I survived that honesty, that kind of truth. And I did it in the smoothest way I could. It didn't land well anyways because the message was what it was. But I think the truth, sticking with the truth gives us some sort of confidence because now you know how much you dare. I mean, I dared myself, if that even is a saying, as we are on this podcast now, right?
That's right.
And and
That's right.
and I'm really happy I did it. Firstly, it made me meet my now wife. I hadn't met her if I hadn't ended that relationship way the year before. But just being honest, it gives you energy. It gives you a kind of inner calm in a way. At least it did for me. So these days I can enter any conversation. And as you started this, are there any no areas? And I said, you do your best or your worst if you like. I'm not afraid of it. I've heard it all. And I know I can probably deal with it. And if I can't deal with it, I'm just gonna say, I don't know how to respond to this. It's not gonna bother me at all. It's a matter of aging as well, because I'm 59. I think people my age are less afraid of things than people in their early 30s because I guess that makes sense in a way. We've seen more, we have experienced a lot of things. We know the worst case scenario usually never happens,
Hmm.
right? So stick with the truth would be my suggestion. It sounds completely hallelujah, but it isn't. I really mean it, and I tested this myself, and I'm happy I did. So I stick to the truth, I would say, I can't remember. I was in an interview on last Friday, and obviously the woman in Poland, in Warsaw, asked me, so when did you lie the last time? And I couldn't immediately recall, and I think that's good. I'm not trying to convince you I never lie. I still use white lies, absolutely. But I couldn't recall, oh, it was last week or yesterday or just now. I'm lying to you right now, actually. I had to, okay, when could that be? Oh, yeah, and then I could remember a moment at an airport.
Mhm.
And it was actually not a dangerous lie. Did you enjoy your steak? And I said, it was great. It was disgusting. I couldn't
Well, I'll
hardly
give you
to
that one. I think
get the
you're okay
knife
on
through
that
it.
one,
So
sure.
maybe that's an innocent lie. I don't know, but it wasn't the truth at least. So, but I used to say that too. Was the dinner okay? And I said, no, it was cold. There were clumps in the sauce on the potatoes. I didn't enjoy it. This is not what I ordered. Take it out. These days I do it hopefully with a friendly face and a smile on my lips, but I don't pay for bad stuff anymore.
Don't you? See, I'm not there. I'm not there quite yet. I will, in that situation, I will say that dinner was amazing, and I'm not proud of that. I'm saying I'm not, I'm not right where you're at right now. I grew up in Minnesota, nice, a little Norwegian, and so no, that dinner was amazing. Where, give me the recipe. I'll go full bore on that, Thomas. So now here's something that for everyone listening, what I love listening to Thomas walk that through is this discussion on self awareness. I can hear it in you. You're self reflecting on moments that helped you and changed you and I've got my own. I'll share a quick story with me in a moment, but for everyone listening, think about where you're at in your career, and I think he's onto something here clearly about when you are just more honest. And I think it for me, candor is something I'm working on. I've been using it my whole career, Thomas, trying to work on this because part of my blind spot was I wasn't candid enough. So I really set a goal for myself to be known as the most candid executive that I can be, and that I try to do that. And a real benefit, Thomas, was you talk about liberating. You talk about just not having to think about what you're going to say, just be more candid. It was a game changer in my career. I realized it way too late. But coach me a little bit. What are you hearing? Does that track with honesty and not lying? I'm calling it more candor.
Doesn't really matter what you call it, Darren, as long as it does the trick, right? I mean, if we're talking about being more solid in as a person, I guess, be more, what's the word? Be more, well, be more genuine, I guess.
There you go.
And I think people enjoy that. You can see this online. I mean, why are podcasts so popular these days instead of following and you fill in all the new TV stations that you have over there, you know, because they are going down and podcasts are going up because this kind of conversation that you and I are having at the moment, it's more candid, it's more honest, it's more liberated because we just we go with the flow and see where it takes. You ask me a question, and I think out loud and try to be as useful as possible. But you rarely see this on television anymore. You rarely see it on Instagram or TikTok or wherever. You see it a little bit here and there, but you need to listen to someone for a while in order to sort of get beneath the surface. And I think that's good. If you dare to show yourself who you are, you can get hurt, of course. There are nasty people out there, impolite people who will try to stab you, not only in your back, in the chest perhaps, because you show them, let's say that you're vulnerable. I'll talk about that a little bit. I read a lot about vulnerability from Brené Brown, which is an author and a psychologist I admire a lot. I don't buy everything she says, but I think it's a good thing to dare to show yourself a little bit vulnerable. People appreciate it so much just by saying, I don't know, but I would love to understand this and that and whatever. But what about this? I can play the expert card here and tell you a lot of yada yada here. But if you ask me something and I really don't know, I would say, I don't know. That's a good question. Now we start talking out loud and thinking, in pictures, if you know what I mean. Maybe I will find my way. For me, it has taken me also decades to mostly dare to do it, open my mouth without planning every single word,
There it
because I
is.
was really, really scared of. messing things up and look like an idiot, and maybe I will say something that didn't work at all because I got the feedback when I was 24. Back to that case, right? Because as I said, I really messed it up. I absolutely did. And I don't want that feedback anymore. So these days I've been sort of coming back to daring to open the lid in the front and see what comes out. Sometimes it's interesting and fascinating and almost philosophical, and sometimes it's just BS, and I totally get that. I'm no better than anyone else. But also it gives me a sense of being more genuine with you and hopefully with your audience. Hopefully they will decide and they will give you the feedback and say, don't bring that idiot again on board here because he was not interesting at all. Or maybe bring him on again because I would love to hear more. What do I know? But I think the younger you, okay, here comes something beautiful. I think this feels great.
Okay,
I
here
can
we
sense
go.
it. Here we go. Exactly. Here we go. The younger you are when you figure this out, the more beautiful life you're gonna spend on this planet. The quicker you dare to show yourself to the world the way you truly are, and not take away the mask or the masks